Hello everyone, welcome to the daily current affair analysis brought to you by Shankar IAS Academy, 29th May 2025. Displayed here are the topics that we will be discussing. The first topic is about dugongs and the seagrass ecosystem, because we know that the 28th May is observed as the World Dugong Day. The next article is about Pacific Atoll. So recently the China conducted an unnotified maritime scientific research in a Pacific Atoll that is coming under the exclusive economic zone of Japan, and this resulted into a diplomatic crisis between China and Japan. And the third article is about CRISPR, because recently a boy, a 9-month-old baby from United States, was suffering from a condition known as CPS1 deficiency, and this resulted into exclusive accumulation of ammonium in the baby's blood. And the doctors from the Pennsylvania hospital used base editing, a customized base editing, which is a part of a recent development of the CRISPR technology to cure the baby. And the next article is about the monsoon and its impact in the urban area. So in this topic, we'll be discussing what are the mitigation efforts can be taken and how this monsoon can impact the urban area. And the next article is about it is time to stop ritualistic hunting. So this article is taken from the Hindu, which is talking about a need for balance between the cultural practice and wildlife conservation. Before getting into the discussion, we have an important announcement from Shankar IAS Academy. Shankar IAS Academy's Delhi branch regular batch will be starting on 6th June 2025, and a new CSAT batch will also start on 23rd June 2025. For more details, check the website, and remember, it's your dream, but it's our mission. So now we will begin our discussion with the first article. Farmers of the sea, India's dugong must stay a conservation priority. The article is taken from the Hindu. So we know that the May 28th marks the World Dugong Day. So dugong, it is also known as the sea cow. So recently we can see that due to various reasons, this mammal in the sea is facing a lot of problems. And you can see that in India, the population has reduced to 200 individuals. And considering the decline of this dugong population, in the year 2022, the Indian government declared the first dugong conservation reserve in the Park Bay in Tamil Nadu. So in this background, let us discuss more about the sea mammal from the prelims perspective. So dugong, commonly known as sea cow, the scientific name is Dugong duon, and majorly they are found in the Indo-Pacific region. In India, they are found in the Gulf of Mannar, Park Bay, Gulf of Kutch, and also in Andaman and Nicobar. And coming to the conservation status, in IUCN, they are considered as vulnerable, and they are protected under the Wildlife Protection Act in 1972, Schedule 1. And they are the only herbivorous marine mammal found in the Indian waters, mostly feeds the seagrass. So the major need for the sea mammal is the seagrass. But we can see that due to various reasons, the seagrass itself is reducing. And coming to the major threats faced by the dugong, so like I mentioned in the beginning, the population got to decline to 200 individuals. And the major reason behind this is the loss of seagrass because of the heavy constructions like port, dredging, and pollution. And the next is bycatch in the fishing net. So accidentally, when the fisherman goes for large scale fishing, sometimes accidentally this seagulls will also get into the net. And the next is poaching in remote areas like Andaman and Nicobar, and other major reasons including the marine accidents, climate change are also affecting the cow population. And the next is conservation measures. You can see that considering the vulnerable status of the dugong, in the government of India in the year 2022 established the first dugong conservation reserve in the Park Bay in Tamil Nadu. So the area of this reserve is around 448 square kilometer, and the grass coverage in this reserve is around 122 square kilometer. And India is also signatory to the Convention on Migratory Species in the year 1983, and we also signed the Memorandum of Understanding for the conservation of dugong in the year 2008. So these are the initiatives taken by the government of India to conserve the dugong population. So coming to the seagrass ecosystem, so like the coral ecosystem, it is another ecosystem found under the sea. So it's an underwater flowering plants, not seaweed. Okay, the functions of this seagrass ecosystem includes stabilizing the sea floor. We know that the mangroves or seagrass, they are very effective against flooding as well as catastrophes like tsunami. And the next is supporting biodiversity. The dugong is a best example, and carbon sequestration. So you can see that per year, in a square kilometer, we can sequestrate around 400 plus tons of carbon. So this is a potential of the seagrass to sequestrate the carbon. And the next is India's total seagrass area is just 516 square kilometer. So coming to the prelims practice question, the question is, which of the following best describes the role of dugong in the marine ecosystem? Option A, top predator regulating fish population. Option B, seed disperser in mangrove forests. And option C, the farmer of the sea maintaining seagrass meadows. and option D, coral reef builder. See, the correct answer is option C, farmers of the sea maintaining the seagrass meadows. So therefore, the correct answer is option C. So they are also known as the farmers of the sea. Okay, so with this, we will move to the next article. Japan says China conducted research near Pacific Atoll. The article is taken from the Hindu. So we can see that a diplomatic crisis is going on between the Japan and China, because recently the China conducted an unnotified maritime scientific research within the exclusive economic zone of Japan. And let us discuss more about this incident. So coming to the incident, we will see an overview. So the location is Okinotori. So it's an atoll located in the Philippine Sea between the Taiwan and China and Japan. So you can see that China, Taiwan, Philippines, and Japan. So Japan is claiming that this region is located within the 200 nautical miles, that is the special economic zone of the Japan. So what happened is that recently a Chinese maritime survey vessel has conducted an unnotified scientific research in this region, and now the Japan is claiming that it is their exclusive economic zone. So this has resulted into a diplomatic crisis between the China and Japan. So coming to the legal positions of the two nations, we can see that Japan is claiming that Okinotori is a legitimate island located, within the 200 nautical miles. So therefore, it is a exclusive economic zone, and if a foreign nation wants to conduct any research, then they need prior permission. But what is China claiming is that Okinotori is not an island; it is a rock. So therefore, the rock cannot sustain any human life or any type of economic activity. Therefore, under the Article 121 Clause 3 of the UNCLOS, there is no need to get any permission from the Japan. So that is the claim of China, and China is saying that they have the freedom over the high seas. So coming to the atoll, what is meant by an atoll? So it is a ring-shaped coral reef system formed around the mostly around volcanic island. When the island is singing, the coral will form around it, and this physical landform is known as atoll. And mostly these atolls are the characteristics are low elevation, and you can also see that these atolls are mostly not suitable for any type of human habitation or economic activity. And this is a claim raised by China, because it is not sustaining any human life or supporting any economic activity. Therefore, it is just a rock. That is a claim of China. And these atolls are mostly vulnerable to erosion and sea level rising. And you can see that these atolls are mostly found in the tropical oceans, especially in the Pacific. Example, the Marshall Islands, Maldives, and Lakshadweep are the examples of this coral reef system. And coming to the exclusive economic zone. So we can see that under the United Nations Convention on Law of Seas, a state has a special rights over the marine resource in a zone extending 200 nautical miles from its coastal line. For example, India is there. So from here, 12 nautical miles, it is our national jurisdiction, and up to 200 nautical miles, it will be considered as special economic zone. So beyond the 200 nautical miles, it is the high sea. So high sea is a common, capital of every nation. Coming to the major characteristics of the special economic zone, you can see that they are rich in resource. For example, fisheries, oil, and therefore these regions are also mostly exploited. And you can see that to conduct, if another nation wants to conduct any experiment or something, they have to get the permission from the that nation, nation which is controlling this exclusive economic zone. And these regions are also following strict environmental regulation. And coming to the island versus rock under the UNCLOS Article 121 Clause 3, you can see that the China is claiming that this is not an island; it is just a rock. Therefore, the China can conduct the maritime scientific research. So coming to the island, can generate full economic, exclusive economic zone, because it is sustaining the human life. At the same time, it can support, the islands can support the economic activity. But in the case of rocks, it cannot generate the special economic zone, because according to the Article 101 of the UNCLOS, we can see that the rocks cannot support any type of economic activity or human life. Therefore, the rocks cannot be considered under the exclusive economic zone. So coming to the strategic importance of the Okinotori Atoll. So like I mentioned in the beginning, it is the location. So here you can see that it is it is located in the Philippine Sea, surrounded by nations like Japan, Philippines, Taiwan, and China. And you can also see that this region is highly geopolitically dynamic region, because recently 2 years back there was an issue that China is dumping the nuclear waste into the the Philippines Sea that is affecting the fisheries community. So that in that way, you can see a lot of conflicts are happening in this region. And the next is strengthening Japan's maritime control in the region counters Chinese expansion in the South and the East Chinese water. So we can see that Japan and USA, they are big allies, and the one of the major prince or the focus of the United States itself is controlling or containing the China from expanding towards the east, right? And you can see that this region is also, like I mentioned, so US Japan strategy to monitor the Indo-Pacific. So you can see that US has, for example, the Quad. So like that, US has taken a lot of initiatives to establish their role or their power in the Indo-Pacific, and this region is also a strategic point for the United States as well. So these are the strategic importance of the Okinotori Atoll. So moving on to the prelims practice question. The question is with reference to the concept of exclusive economic zone under the United Nations Convention on Law of Sea, consider the following statements. Statement 1, only naturally formed land feature that remain above the sea level at high tide can generate an exclusive economic zone. And the statement 2, artificial structures or reefs cannot be used to extend a nation's special economic zone entitlement. And the statement 3, rock which cannot sustain human habitation or economic life of their own shall have no exclusive economic zone or continental shelf. And statement 4, atolls, even if submerged during high tide, are entitled to claim a special economic zone if they are traditionally inhabited. Which of the above statements is or are correct? The correct answer is actually option B, 1, 2, 3, and 2 and 3 only. The statement 4 is incorrect. So atolls, even if they are submerged during high tide, cannot be entitled to claim under the special economic zone. Therefore, the statement 4 is incorrect, while all the 3 statements are correct. So let's check. Yes, the correct answer is option B, 1, 2, and 3 only. So with this, we will move to the next article. Next article is taken from Indian Express. We have a news from the United States where a 9-month-old baby was suffering from a condition called CPS1 deficiency. So this condition causes excessive accumulation of ammonium in the human blood. So CPS1 deficiency can cause excessive accumulation of ammonium in the human blood, and this 9-month-old baby was suffering from this condition. And recently, the doctors from the Pennsylvania hospital, they developed a customized base editing treatment, which is a part of the CRISPR-Cas gene editing technology to treat this baby, and now the baby is fine. So in this background, let us discuss more about this article. So first we'll start with the CRISPR. So the clustered regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats. So this is the immune system found in the bacteria. So what happens is that the bacteria immune system will act like a memory immunity. So when a virus infects the bacteria, this immunity, that means the CRISPR will take a piece of this virus genome, and later it will store in the genome of the bacteria. So in the future, if the same virus is attacking the bacteria, in that case, the CRISPR will produce the guided RNA. So this guided RNA will produce something called the Cas9 enzyme, and this Cas9 enzyme will act as a scissor which will cut the DNA of the virus precisely, making it neutral. So in this way, this bacterial defense mechanism is working and protecting the bacteria. So we are using currently this technology to protect the humans from certain health conditions. We know that DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, where the information of the humans are stored in different code. Okay, in different code. So if there is any defect in the code, we will use this technology to edit or delete or modify this DNA codes in the human body. So this technology is known as gene editing technology. So the guided RNA will match the targeted DNA, and it will cut the DNA at a specific site, and this can result into either deletion or insertion or modifying the genes, and this will protect the humans from genetic disorders and various rare genetic disorders. And recent developments in the field of the CRISPR is the base editing, which will edit the single DNA base, for example this adenine guanine. So we will edit the entire DNA strand, and there will not be any break also. So sometimes if you are not using efficient tool, then it can result in breaking the DNA strand. So in the case of the base editing, this is very precise as well as it is safer because it will not create any such break. And coming to the types of editing, first is the knockout, which means deletion; knock-in, which means insertion; base editing, which means single base correction. That means like I mentioned, this adenine guanine. So like that, we can edit a single base. So and at the same time, like I mentioned, it is precise and it is safer. And recently in 2019 we developed the prime editing technology, which is used for various purpose, and it is more accurate and also prevents the breaking of the strands. So coming to the advantages of this CRISPR-Cas, high accuracy specificity, which means we can precisely cut where the defect is, and it is faster and cheaper than the older methods and enables personalized medicine. For example, in the case of this 9-month-old baby, you can see that they developed a customized base editing technology to deal with the problem of CPS1 deficiency. So coming to the prelims practice question, the question is, which of the following statements regarding the CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing technology is or are correct? Option statement 1, CRISPR is derived from a natural defense mechanism found in viruses. No, it is found from bacteria. So the statement 1 is incorrect. So if we eliminate the statement 1, we can eliminate the option A, option C, and option D. So easily we can come to the option B, which is the correct answer. So India currently we will check the statement for India currently has a well-defined legal framework for human germline editing using CRISPR. No, we don't have such a legal framework. Therefore, the statement 4 is also incorrect. So the simple technique is, if we eliminate the statement 1, we can reach the correct answer. So the statement 2 and 3 are correct. The correct answer is option B. Let's check. Yes, the correct answer is option B. So with this, we will move to the next article. An early monsoon and the urban planning challenge. The article is taken from Indian Express. We know that this year the monsoon arrived on 1 week before the schedule. Usually it happens in the first week of the June, but this year it arrived 1 week before the schedule, and several parts of the country have also experienced unusual wet summer. So this is raising two things. First is the the concern associated with the climate change, and the second is the impact of the monsoon in the urban area. We know that the urban area is one of the major affected area because of this monsoon. And the best example, a few weeks back we saw that national capital suffered waterlogging due to western disturbance. And similarly, in the now the Mumbai and Bengaluru, they are facing the problem. And in 2016 and 23, the Chennai faced a flood. And in 2018, due to the monsoon, the state of Kerala experienced a severe flood. So therefore, the monsoon is considered as a lifeline. It can be a lifeline, but at the same time, if it is crossing beyond a limit, then it can become a catastrophe. So let us discuss more about the urban planning and the Indian monsoon. So what are the key issues? First is the lack of urban planning and infrastructure deficiency. We know that most of the cities, even though they are well developed and hubs of economic activities, they are lagging infrastructures such as flood tunnels like that. So the flood tunnels will help to divert the flooding water. So many cities in India are lagging this. And the next is loss of natural buffers like lake. So lakes can absorb the water, it can store the water, but due to the development projects, illegal encroachment, many cities are losing their lakes. The best example is Bangalore. And the next is the impact of climate change. So the climate change can increase the frequency as well as the intensity of the natural disasters, including the cyclone, which can also result in flood. And the next is governance and the implementation gap. Followed by the 2018 flood, the Kerala state government, they talked about implementing something called the Dutch model. And the people from the Kerala government, they also went to Netherlands to study the Dutch model, but after that we couldn't see any update regarding that. And coming to the urban planning and the sustainable development goals, so we are just 5 years from 2030. So we have to attain this sustainable development goals by 2030, but it is just 5 years from now. Among the sustainable development goals, the goal number 11 talks about developing sustainable cities and communities, which is emphasizing developing resilient infrastructure and disaster risk mitigation. We know that if the impact of the natural disasters in the urban area can paralyze the nation both economically as well as socially. So therefore, it is a high time to develop sustainable cities to mitigate the disaster, and therefore we can implement projects like integrated urban water management and nature-based solutions to manage the flood. We will discuss some of the nature-based solutions in the upcoming slides. So coming to the disaster risk reduction framework, so India is a signatory to the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction, which is prioritizing understanding the disaster risk, strengthening the disaster governance, and also focusing in investing the disaster risk reduction for resilience infrastructure development. And coming to the societal implications because of this flood, first is a loss of livelihood, especially for the informal workers. We know that the floods can destroy the house and other basic needs of the human beings. So this will mostly affecting the marginalized communities and the workers working in the informal sector, because they may not be having social security. The next is the public health risk. We know that the water logging can result in spreading infections like malaria, cholera, like that. And the next is education and economic disruptions. Once the major concern associated with the urban flooding is the loss of life and economic disruptions, and this can affect both the this can mostly affect the poor and marginalized communities living in the urban area, because for in their life the recovery will take a long time. And what are the best practices and solutions we have? First is the cities like Amsterdam and Tokyo have invested in urban flood proofing technologies like the sponge cities and the flood tunnels. So those flood tunnels will divert the nations like the Netherlands and Denmark. They are using this technology, flood tunnels, to divert the flooding water. And in the case of the Tokyo, they have developed the cities like sponge cities, which can absorb the water, the flood water. And the next is investing in the green infrastructure like parks, green roofs, and permeable pavement. So this can reduce the water runoff, and this can absorb the water. So therefore it will reduce the water runoff and prevents the intensity of the water logging. And the next is using technologies like GIS mapping, rainwater harvesting, and also citizen engagement with the governance and multi-level coordinations are also essential for managing the urban flood. And coming to the mains practice question, the question is: frequent urban flooding in Indian cities reflect a deeper crisis of urban governance, lack of resilience, and ignorance of climate adaptability. Discuss with examples suggest an integrated urban flood management framework suitable for Indian conditions. So it's a 15 marks question, and you have to write around 250 words. Write the answer and post it in the comment section. So in this question, you have to address about the which are the major cities affected by the flood, and what can be the impact, like that. And then we can also talk about the integrated urban water flood management framework for Indian conditions. So for example, we can develop the green infrastructure which can absorb the water and reduce the water runoff. And we can also develop the sponge cities if it is possible, which can absorb the water. And we can also, if it is not possible, we can go for flood tunnel. So like that, we can address the technologies that can be used in the to manage this urban flooding. So that can be addressed in the second part. In the first part, you can talk about the impact as well as the cause of the urban flood in the major cities of India. So with this, try to answer this question and post it in the comment section. We will review and we will prepare for your answer. Now it's time to move to the next article. It is time to stop ritualistic hunting. The article is taken from The Hindu. So this article is talking about a need for balance between the culture and wildlife conservation, because in the state of West Bengal, there's an annual ritualistic hunting festival known as Shikari Utsav. So as a part of this Shikari Utsav, the people will go for hunting the wild animals, and this will result in killing of thousands of wild animals. And in the recent times, the state forest department has taken a lot of initiatives to reduce this hunting practice, but still it is prevailing in some areas in the state. So let us discuss more about this article. First, we will begin with the role of joint forest management. So this practice is there since 1980s. So here, the local communities in the forest will work with the forest department to improve the forest cover, biodiversity, and livelihood. So here you can see that, unlike if you take the colonial time, you can see that the Colonial Forest Act of 1940s, 1927, this act displaced the natives of the forest, right, and that results into violation of the rights of the people and their needs. But in the case of the joint forest management, the local communities will work with the forest department to improve the forest cover, biodiversity, and livelihood. So here the forest conservation will also happen. At the same time, there will be no violation of their rights. And this model will build a trust between the forest officials and the villagers, and the people near the forest are actively involved in conservation efforts. And coming to the challenge of the ritual hunting, that is Shikari Utsav, we can see that Shikari Utsav is a traditional hunting festival held from the March to May in the district of Jagargram, Bankur, and Purulia. And this can result into killing of thousands of animals, wild animals, including wild boars. And this the techniques they are using for hunting the animals can sometimes even result into other problems like forest fire, and this can bring severe harm to the environment. And the forest staffs are outnumbered and unable to curb the practice. So the government has taken initiatives, but still, the hunting practice is going on in certain areas of the state. So coming to the need for awareness and balance. So hunting is a culturally significant, but it is harmful for wildlife today. Because if you take the case of past, the forest was nearly untouched. It was stable, and there were numerous numbers of spacious. But in that time, the population comparing with the forest animals, it was less. The human population was very less. So in the past, it can be, it was important. But today, this cultural activity can result in harmful effect of the wildlife, and this can also face other problems like the degradation and the due to the unsustainable practices of the as a part of these rituals. And the next is tradition and conservation must be balanced, and future generations risk losing biodiversity if this action is delayed. So we can see that this hunting, it has historical significance, it has cultural significance, but at the same time, today, if you consider the case of today, it is harmful to the ecosystem and to the wildlife species. Therefore, there is a need for a balance between the hunting and the conservation. And if this action is not taken, this can result in loss of biodiversity for the future. And coming to the case of similar hunting rituals in other states, for example, then we have the Sendra festival, which is usually happens between the communities of Ho, Sandal, and Munda in the state of Jharkhand and Odisha. Then we have the Budmar. It is found in the Gond and Baiga communities in the state of Madhya Pradesh, and the Akhand Shikar. So it is another hunting ritual held in the tribes, like in the communities like Sandal, Ho, and Munda, and it is mostly happens in the state of Odisha. So coming to the way forward, we can see how we can ensure the balance between the culture and the conservation. So first is forest restoration has taken decades. This progress must be protected. So we know that the forest degradation can happen rapidly, but for restoring that same amount of forest, it will take a lot of time. Therefore, this progress must be protected. And the next is strengthening and expanding the JFM model, that is Joint Forest Management Model. So this will ensure a sustainable management of the forest with the and also builds the trust between the villagers and the forest officials. So this model will be very healthy for further conservation of the forest. And the next is launching awareness drives on conservation and the sustainable living. This can educate the people regarding the present problem of the ecosystem, because the tribe community, they are doing it as a part of their culture. But the thing is, we have to make them aware that this can bring a harmful impact in the ecosystem, which can ultimately result in destroying their own life. So we have to make them aware. But at the same time, the way we are creating this awareness is also matters. That should be more sustainable. And the next is improving law enforcement and coordination. But at the same time, we have to make sure that this is not misused. And the next is encouraging joint efforts by communities, governments, and NGOs. So this will build a trust, as well as this is a healthy model of conserving the forest. So coming to the mains practice question, the question is, ritualistic hunting festivals rooted in cultural traditions pose a unique challenge to wildlife conservation in India. Discuss. So we can talk about the various the Sendra festival. We can talk about Aganta Shikar festival. We can talk about the Shikar Utsav festival. So how this is this is shaping the culture. We can talk that in the first part. In the second part, we can also talk about how this culture is posing a challenge to the wildlife conservation, because the loss of biodiversity, killing of animals, and it can ultimately affect the stability or the balance of the ecosystem. So these are the things we can address in the second part. So in the first part, you can talk about how these cultures are shaping the how this rituals are shaping the culture. In the second part, you can talk about the impact of these rituals on the ecosystem. So discuss. We have to address the both sides. So based on this, try to answer this question and post it in the comment section. With this, we are coming to the conclusion for today's current affair analysis. If you like the video, hit the like button, give your feedbacks as comments, and share this content with your friends. And before leaving this channel, don't forget to subscribe and also hit the bell icon to receive on-time update from Shankar IAS Academy. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for listening to me. Have a nice day.